We'd like to speak today about body language again of Parshat Shemot. Body language is the language of feelings. If you want to know how a person feels, you have to stay attuned and take a good look at his body. The body tells us much more than whatever you would verbally say, because whatever you verbally say, you could change according to your interest. But your body doesn't lie. Your body language does not lie. And therefore, you always express the way you feel and the way you feel towards your surrounding. This is what we learn in our parasha. Parashat Shemot, we're talking about the way the Egyptians lived and what they had and what they felt towards the Jews. And let's see how this works. But first, as an introduction, we need to know that a person always radiates to others what he feels inside. If he feels good about himself, he'll say the same thing and he'll express the same thing to others, which means he'll be very positive to his surroundings. He'll always compliment other people, his workers, his boss, his colleagues, his talmidim, whatever it is. He's always going to be positive towards them. The opposite would be if a person feels negative about himself, he doesn't feel good about himself, he feels low about himself, he would show and express the same thing to others. He was always will be critical. He would always see the negative in the other. He would not show anything positive. That expresses not the other person he speaks to, but rather it expresses the way he feels about himself. So therefore, if somebody that you know or that you see on the street criticizes you, screams at you, gives you a bad look, don't think it's because you've done something so terrible. Rather, it comes because that's the way he feels about himself. And you'll see this many times when you see a person screams at you when you drive. You didn't do anything so terrible, and the person just didn't like the way you drive. You drove a second too slow. You delayed a little bit on the green light, and you didn't start driving right away. And the guy behind you already is honking and screaming. Honking already became a norm, but screaming and so on, such a thing doesn't happen because of you, because of the second you delayed, but rather because he himself woke up on the wrong foot. He himself feels about himself not too good. He's angry with himself. He shows the anger outside. You see this also in the grocery stand by the line. You see this many times by a doctor office. You go to a very, very important doctor, very high professional doctor, and you see many times that the secretary or the receptionist would not be nice at all, aggravated, scream at you, rebuke you, say things that you shouldn't say, cut you off, don't have time for you. And once you pass them, you go to the nurse already is half like that. She's not too terrible, she's not too good, but she's a little bit more patient than the receptionist. And once you get to the doctor, all of a sudden they're so nice. Again, this is not always like that, but many times it is. Why is the doctor so nice while the receptionist wasn't? The reason is because the doctor feels good about himself, herself. Why? Because they're doing very well. They're very high professional, they're doing well. If they feel good about themselves, that's the way they'll treat others. If they don't feel too good about themselves, like the receptionist many times, they feel that they're not worth much, and they would make you feel the same way. Again, it's not a rule. Some receptionists are the nicest in the world, and it comes again because they feel good about themselves. They feel accomplished with their life, with their family, with whatever they did. They feel successful. That's the way they'll show others. That's the basic human behavior. That's what it says in the beginning of Parashat Shemot, that the Mitzrim felt that the Jews are like thorns. Vayakutsu, it says in the Torah, mipenei bnei Israel. What does it mean, vayakutsu mipenei bnei Israel? Rashi gives two explanations. One, katsu b'chayim. They felt disgusted with their life. The Mitzrim didn't feel good with themselves. They felt disgusted with their life. They felt they can't tolerate themselves anymore. He himself can't tolerate his life anymore. That was the first Perush. Second Perush, Rashi says, "V'rabotenu dorshu kekotzim hayu b'einem." The Jews were like thorns in their eyes. Now, what does it mean? usually when you read Rashi, you see that there's two perushim. It seems like they're contradicting, but many times it doesn't mean that they're contradicting, rather they're completing themselves. The one is feeding the other and completes the other. That's what happens over here. The Mitzrim felt bad about themselves. They felt that they are like thorns in their eyes, like disgusted with their life. They felt unsuccessful. They felt that the place they live in is not a good place, and so on. Could be many reasons. The Torah doesn't explain over here why the Mitzrim felt that way, but the immediate reaction to that was to feel and behave like that to the Jews. They felt that the Jews are like thorns in their eyes. So we see from here that a person that feels that he's not happy with himself, he would feel that way to others as well. That's what it says over here in our Parshat. We need to know that's how always anti-Semitism starts. Anti-Semitism never starts because the Jews do something so terrible. The Jews throughout history were normally good citizens, loyal citizens, law-binding citizens, and so on. What happens every time? Whenever there's a crush in a country, whether it's economic, social, or devastation, or whatever it is, a famine, pandemic, whatever it is, then the natives don't feel good with themselves. They feel that they are breaking down, and they're looking for somebody to blame, and it's always the Jews because that's an easy target. And that's what happened, for instance, in World War II, in the Holocaust. The Germans had always the Jews as good citizens, and they were very, very much on high official jobs. They were doctors and lawyers. They were excelling the country very well. What happens after World War I? The German economy broke, and there was a serious recession and inflation, and they didn't do good. Right away, the first person to blame is the Jews, because once you don't feel good about yourself, v'katzu bechayehem, she tells us that what would happen is that they would feel that way towards the Jews as well. Kekotzim hayu b'neihem. Now I'd like to connect that a little bit to last week, the brachot that Yaakov Avinu gives his children. One of the children is Asher, and he gives a bracha to Asher, and he says to him, Asher shemena lachmo v'yitan ma'adane melech. What does it mean? Asher shemena lachmo, Asher bread was fat and juicy and good, which means bread doesn't mean, lechem doesn't mean in the Torah actual bread. It means the meal, the wealth. And many times we see that lechem is considered the meal. Rashi says, En Sudan nikret el Hashem alechem. We see that Yosef called Eshet Potifar, Lachmo. We see that the Meraglim said, Ki lachmenu. So we see that it means, bread means wealth of a person. Asher felt he has everything. He felt content. He had everything. Shemena lachmo. He was fat and juicy, all his wealth. He felt good with himself. What happens? Therefore, right away, what's the reaction to that? He gives others royal treatment, royal meals. That is the reason we said before, the way you feel about yourself, you treat others. And again, we found the same thing that when, in the end of the Torah, Parshat, Zot HaBeracha, when Moshe Rabbeinu gives the brachot, he gives also the bracha to Asher. And Asher gets the same idea, the same bracha. Asher amar, Baruch mibanim Asher, yiretzu echav. וטובל בשמן רגלו. What does it mean? ולאשר אמר ברוך מבנים אשר. ברוך מבנים אשר, רש"י says, ראיתי בספרי, אין לך בכל השבטים שנתברך בבנים כאשר. ואני יודע כיצד. רש"י tells us, Asher had the most blessed children. From all his brothers, he had the best children. Rashi says, I don't know how, אני יודע כיצד, but that's Asher. Asher had the most blessed children. So ממילא, ברוך מבנים אשר. What happens to that after that? He appeases others. Because if he feels good about himself, about his family, about his children, about his wealth, he appeases others. He doesn't see negative in others. He has everything positive. He doesn't see the negative in others. And that's what happens really when Asher was born and Leah wants to name him. So it's very interesting. You always have to look at the source of where everything comes from, and you see that the naming has a lot of influence on a person. That's always, and we have shiurim about that, explaining how much influence the name of a person has on that person. So it says here, ותאמר לאה באושרי כי ישרוני בנות ותקרא את שמו אשר. Why did she call him אשר? באושרי, I'm happy. Osher means happy, inner happiness. Not like simcha, it's outer happiness. Osher means the inner happiness. She's content, she's happy, she feels good about herself. She feels that way, and she makes others feel the same way. ותאמר לאה באושרי כי ישרוני בנות. All the girls in the neighborhood, all the girls that I know, the ladies that I know, confirm and feel good about me as well. באושרי כי ישרוני בנות. They approve of me. Why they approve of her? Because she feels good. Once a person feels good, he makes others feel good. Once others feel good, they return that feeling back to you. And therefore, תקרא שמו אשר. She called him on that idea that she felt so good about herself and others felt good about her as well. And that's what Chazal tell us. Chazal tell us that when we see a person that is negative and he blames others and he calls people names, therefore it means that he has this blemish himself. Because it says, כל הפוסל במומו פוסל, Chazal tell us. If you give a blemish to others, you say something negative about somebody else, you should know that that thing is inside you. Why is it that you pick out on those people that have a certain fault, for instance? Because you feel that fault inside of you, and it could be that it's dormant, it's numb, and then when you see it in others, it wakes within you, and it doesn't give you rest, and therefore you have to criticize other person, you have to call them names, because that bothers you. But another person that doesn't have that, he sees others that have faults. All people have faults. It doesn't bother me that other people have faults. On the contrary, I feel bad for them. But it's not going to start shaking in my heart and giving me unrest unless that is what I feel about myself. That is what I have. Therefore, Chazal tell us that כל הפוסל במומו פוסל. So this is basic over here, human behavior that we all need to know, because when we see somebody that screams at us, we need to take a step back and understand it's not me. I don't have to take it personally. It's him. He woke up on the bed side, on the left side. He had she had a fight with the spouse. They had a hard morning with the children. They had something that didn't go right, and therefore they're screaming. But that's not because of me. That's a very, very important thing when I have relations with other people to understand that. And also, if I have a fault that I constantly feel negative towards others, I need to know that I need to fix myself, and not that the whole world is surrounding me is at fault. Is it a person that sees everybody in a negative light would see everybody's at fault? But the truth and the matter is, it's his fault and not everybody else. There was a story that I once said of a person that wanted to move to a new city. So he came to a place, and he asked one of the people over there, tell me about the people of the city. Are they nice? They're not nice? He told him, tell me about the people from the place you come from. So he tells him, the people that I come from, they're bad. They're doing everything. They're angry. They're jealous. They have all the bad character traits, and that's why I want to move. I want to move to a new place. He told him, listen to me. Over here, all the peoples are the same way, and it's not for you. It's better to stay already where you are. Over here in this city, all the people are exactly the same way you just described them. Then a second later, before he even leaves, he sees another person coming in, and he also asked that same person, I'm trying to move to and relocate to a new place. Can you tell me a little bit about the people over here? So he told him again, well, how's the people in the place you come from? He told him, oh, they're so nice, they're polite, they're helpful, one for another, Balei Chesed, they're all such good people. So I told him, over here the people are the same way. If you want to move here, you'll find everybody being extremely nice. The person that was listening said, I don't understand. You told the other person just a minute ago just the opposite. He told him, no, people are people almost every place in the world. But it depends how you reflect to those people, how you observe those people, what kind of glasses you have when you speak to people. If you see people negative, you're going to see them negative all over because it's you, it's not them. If you see them positive, you see them positive all over because it's not the people, it's you. And that's a very big lesson for us.